What's up, everybody? Welcome to Call the Damn Leads, the show by sales professionals for sales professionals. I'm your host, Drewbie Wilson. I've got more than 20 years in the sales industry, and I created this show to bring you some of the wildest, craziest sales stories, some tactics that you can use, and honestly just bring together the sales community to have a good time, because let's be honest, this is the greatest community in the world, and sales is the only place that you can literally write your own paycheck. And the guests that I'm bringing on, the stories that we're going to tell, it's going to remind you why we love this industry so much. And today's guest, someone I'm very excited to have on. He's a friend of mine. We've gotten connected through our Apex community over the last year or two. And he is a brilliant mind when it comes to business credit, but he's also got some fucking hilarious sales stories. So I'd like to welcome my friend, Mr. Paul Childers. What's up, brother?
Hey, man. Not too much. Appreciate being on here. I'm excited for this.
I appreciate you being here, man. When I put out the call earlier about people that have crazy sales stories to come on and share, you had put some things in there, and I went, oh, man, I cannot wait to have this guy. So before we get into the stories, where are you from, what do you do, and tell us about your business.
So I'm up in Minnesota. I'm married, going on 15 years here. My wife tolerates me. I think her just gets thinner and thinner every year. We're married, but here we are. 2 kids. My business, Blue Sky Business Solutions. I help business owners understand the financial risks of personal guarantees and getting to a spot of leverage and cash flow so that they can get loans when they need it and function a little bit less to the neck in debt when possible. So,
yeah, business credit's one of those things that when I finally learned it and understood it and went, damn it, why have I been putting all of this stress on my life? It was just totally unnecessary. It really did help me sleep a little bit better at night. I mean, we're in sales, so it's a stressful industry to be in. All right, Paul, so I got to know, how did you get into sales, and what's your craziest Call the Damn Lead story?
Yeah, actually, my sales story is actually pretty sweet. So I started out in retail management, and really management across all levels. I had like 14 different jobs when I got out of school, right? I graduated college in 08, 09, middle of the recession, literally telling like recruiters, like, I will literally do anything you tell me. A super discount if you give me an opportunity to work for you. And they're all like, nah, we're going to go hire some like dude that's been doing 15 years of this and probably overpay him and he's going to hate his life here. But, whatever. People experience has always been my thing, working with people in different capacities. So I was working at Target in retail. Our vehicle, piece of shit, GMC Acadia, falling apart. Happened to just on lunch break run down to a dealership and go on a test drive. I think at that time it was like a Nissan Armada, kind of like cloth base level, right? And the lady that was riding with me, we were just shooting the shit and just having a conversation. She's like, hey, have you ever thought about getting into car sales? I looked at her, I was like, you crazy? Like, that's like greasy used car people? Like, nah, I ain't gonna do that. Like, that's like, what are you talking about? So anyway, fast forward like 8 months from that point, after I'd just gotten told from my boss at Target that I was lazy, unmotivated, unfocused, and didn't have a direction in life. And had kind of my like come to God awakening moment. I was digging through my wallet and came across this business card, Roberta Sharp, and I was like, Didn't tell my wife anything. Went and submitted an application to this dealership, Mills Automotive, and got a letter back. Went through the interview process, just killed the interview. I have no sales experience at all, like just people experience. And they hired me, and that got me into a journey that has ultimately changed my life and opened the doors to all these other awesome things that I've done and given me some really just great experiences. My first deal was like 2 weeks in. I was bored with training, right? They put you in the office, in the cubicle, in the little glass office, and you got to do these like Zig Ziglar trainings and all these other things that you got to, like hours of training. I just got bored. I can't pay attention that long. So I'm off wandering like the floor. And this lady comes up and she's like, hey, are you a salesman? I was like, sure. It's like, I'll help you, I guess. And she's like, I want to buy this I want to look at this vehicle up front. It's was it an Infiniti Q80 or whatever, kind of like the Nissan Pathfinders. She's like, what do you know about these? I'm like, literally nothing. I'm like, let's go learn together. So that ended up being my first deal, right? That was like my way in. Like I literally just like tripped my way through a deal. But it was fun.
That's the best.
Right? And at that point, I was hooked. I was like, oh, like, this is cool. Like, I can just BS through this, and, like, most people don't even know that you don't know. Like, that's all right. Fast forward into the summer months. this older couple came in. They're probably like in their 80s, and I posted this one in the Facebook chat just because it's a good story. You go on test drives with people, and you never really know what you're going to get into and what you're going to experience, and you're kind of at the mercy of who you're letting drive, right? Which is, I always tell everybody go on test drives, but just wear your seatbelt because you don't know. We're going down the road. The guy's playing with the seat. This is also another lesson for anybody that does this new. Adjust people in their seats and get them into a comfortable position before you start driving. So we're driving down the road, and this old guy's trying to like adjust his seat, and all of a sudden he like pulls the lever back, and next thing I know, he's like back like this, trying to grab the steering wheel. His wife's like hitting him like, Harold, Harold. He's like, I can't get up. I'm trying to push him up and like reach up to the front to like help him. She's worthless. We're hurtling down the road at Mock Jesus at this point in time, and I'm just like, good Lord, if I survive this, like, this has got to be a deal. And so eventually, like, I get him shoved up because like he wasn't coordinating with me, obviously, to like pull the lever of the seat so that I could push him up so that he could. So finally get this situated. Like, we get to the side of the road. I'm like, I'm gonna drive back if that's all right. If that's all right with you guys. Drive back to the dealership. End up getting the deal done on the car. They felt terrible. It was a terrible experience, but you know, I think every car salesman that's ever existed has had it like that like I'm going to die moment on a test drive. You know, it's like your trial by fire. So
all right, so I want to know if you guys are listening to this and you're in the car industry and you've ever had the I'm gonna die in this test drive moment. I want to hear that story. Let's tell it on the podcast. So go over to callthedamnleads.com/podcast. There's a little spot where you can enter to like come on the show and share your story. If you're in car sales and you have a I almost died on a test drive story, I want to bring you on. I want to hear it because like I can only imagine in my mind what that would be like. And the panic, because like as soon as you said he came backwards and you were trying to help him, all I could think was, well, did he pull the lever? Because otherwise you're just yanking on a seat that ain't going nowhere. I can imagine an old lady swinging and like, hey, just my favorite was the Mock Jesus quote. Like we were headed Mock Jesus. That was definitely like getting cut up. Oh, it was that's so funny.
And we were on a highway, so like our test drives, it was like 65 miles an hour, which is all right because we're like in the middle of nowhere. But it's 65 miles an hour. And when you're in that situation, 2 lanes, it just it's not safe.
Oh boy. Well, I mean that is again, this is why sales is so amazing because you never know what the hell you're gonna get into. And the stories that I've been told and heard on this show, and the ones that I know from behind closed doors that we're gonna bring on the show for more people to hear about. We'll cut the names out. We'll leave the dealership. Like, you know, we'll make them cut for safety for TV purposes. But, like, this is why I love sales. Because so much crazy stuff happens. And what it does is it leads to a trickle-down effect of, yeah, you learn more, you make more money. But you develop this sense of self and understanding of, like, nah, I ain't getting in the car with Miss Johnson. That's on you, Brad. You hop on in there and you take that test drive, bro. I'm good. And that is, I think, one thing you mentioned earlier that, I don't know if it was before we started recording or just after, but you had mentioned one of the things that you've been really great about in life and in business is your ability to read and understand people, that empathy of, like, just having a real conversation. And I can speak from personal experience knowing you, what a great human you are and how this is a true skill of yours. But I always like to ask on this show, you know, when it comes to sales and sales strategy, what would you say is your secret weapon?
My biggest skill has always been almost being, I call it kind of being a chameleon, but really just being able to find that agreement point with anybody, whether they're an upset customer, a hard to deal with customer, whatever the situation is, just finding a common ground, whether that's, you know, bashing the manufacturer of the shitty piece of vehicle that they're driving in and, you know, that, oh yeah, that GM down there, he's not taking care of me. Oh yeah, no, I know, they're all a bunch of pricks. I get it. Like, but let's get it fixed for you, right? Like, just alleviating some of that initial like buffer, right? Like, because some people, it's like they get out and they just want to punch you, and sometimes you just have to accept the fact that you have to be a punching bag and take it gracefully, and bounce right back up like those stupid clown punching bags that they had growing up. You know, where you just punch them and they keep popping back up, right? Like. That's like us. We're salespeople are just clown bags, right? We just get punched and pop back up, smiling, going, "Hey, ready to buy now? Like, let's go." You know.
Great. Let's sign here.
Right here. Here's a contract. You want undercoat? Let's go. That gives you connection with people on a deeper level, right? Like my greatest customer was also the biggest asshole that anyone else has dealt with. And anybody that's around like Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Nebraska, in a Chevy store or a Toyota store, you've probably heard of Mike Erdahl. I've never found a more chronic car buyer in my entire life that is a more direct, grumpy, he's a super he's a prick. I mean, really, at the end of the day. But I took time and got to know him finally. And in the 6 years that we had a relationship, I sold that guy, one guy, 18 vehicles. He bought a vehicle whenever he felt like it. If he wanted to go car shopping, he'd buy it. So he didn't have cycles. It could be 3 months and he'd be sick of his truck, and he'd just make the deal work and do it. And he referred me more people than anybody else simply because I just took the time to understand that this guy just loves buying vehicles and there's really no rhyme or reason for it. So who gives a shit? Just give him what he wants, make it easy, and help him. Right?
Oh, shit.
But nobody else takes the time to do that with a lot of these people because they're like, this guy's a dick, he's a prick, I don't want to work with him, right? And I think that innate ability to just get past that initial crunchy level or cringe level that you have with some people can really unearth a lot of opportunity that a lot of people miss out on because they look at somebody and go, oh, that's not an easy sale, or they don't have money, they're not going to be able to buy a car.
That's been such a big, like, not to cut you off, but that's been such a big topic on some of these shows is, like, the thought that so many people judge a book by its cover, and sales is the absolute worst place to do that. I've sat next to literal billionaires at events, and they look like they're homeless. You know, guys that have more money than they know what to do with it, but they could look homeless if you didn't know that they're wearing like $800 sneakers that look like they're freaking, you know, from a garbage can. Some of my favorite sales stories and clients are those guys that walked in that you went, all right, like, tell me how I can help. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, what is that smell? And you're like, oh, God. Oh, and then by the end of it, they're swiping their card for $10,000, or they're buying that new car, or they're doing that thing, and you're going, well, hey man, an hour of dealing with a little smell and some awkwardness really was fucking worth it, because that's one of my favorite clients.
Pro tip for all the rookies out there: this will never be the guy that walks in and be like, "Who's gonna sell me a car today?" He will never be able to buy a car. Just stay away from that guy. It may look tempting. He may even have fake 800 credit score shoes on, but you got to make sure that they're the legit ones, not Walmart brand, right? They got to be tie, not Velcro. But
hey man, that's a great point. And one of the things I always like to ask on this show too, because it's, you know, sales it's a reputation. Either people hate sales guys, which is why we get beat up and we get treated like clown bags, or you love sales and you're like a lay down sale, so whenever you show up, you're like, tell me about your sales process. Sell me something. Like, I'm a dirty sales slut. Just sell me some stuff. Sell me stuff. You know, it's one or the other. There's really no in between. So what would you say is like one of the biggest misconceptions about sales that you've had to deal with or to overcome in your journey?
Yeah, I think in automotive especially, it's the connotation that we're out there to screw people over, right? Here, look. At the end of the day, it was brought up on the dealership's own creation, right? Like, they did it to themselves. We created shitty advertising schemes. We created misleading ads. We created, you know, these dealer stickers where it's like, the car's listed for this online, but when you get here, it's actually like $5,200 more because we decided that our guy filling it with fuel and washing the window off of bugs was worth $5,200 extra dollars, right? But that perception that we were just a bunch of scumbags that were out, and the perception that when you bought a car, it was the most miserable experience that you were ever going to have. Honestly, like, that was the reason I didn't want to get into sales when I started this whole journey, right? I was like, I don't want that damn reputation. And my wife came and she's like, hey, think of all the things. Like, she's like, you worked in retail as Target as a manager. Also not a real great job, right? But she's like, you had so many people that would write you thank you notes and handwritten notes, right? And she's like, you go make this what you want it to be. I'm gonna get emotional because it was kind of a special time and a special journey, and it's just opened so many doors, understanding that you get to create a reputation for yourself outside of norms, right? I don't think people understand how powerful that is. And I don't think I've really understood how powerful those connections were, some of the people that I've made until now as I'm running a business and pulling on some of those connections and relationships I've built. But that, for any salesperson, I think is our biggest barrier, is people come in and they're going, this guy's trying to screw me out of everything. The minute you meet them with just like, hey, nice to meet you. My name's Paul. how can I assist you guys today? What's your names? Like what? And then you go sit down at the desk and you talk about them, right? Like I always like to talk about them. I would put notes in my CRM and I'd track stuff. And one of the guys that I ended up having like buy a car for me in a long term of follow up was really defensive, had his kids with him. His kids had some sporting events coming up, and I just kind of kept track of that throughout the year. And I happened to follow up with him probably like 3 months later. And I was just like, hey man, I just wanted to see how, I can't remember the names now, but like, you know, your kids did with these sporting events and see how your summer's going. And he's like, man, he goes, how do you remember that stuff? Nobody else, at all the other dealerships I went to, and he's like, I left your dealership and I went to like 6 others between then and now. And he's like, I've probably been to 20 others. He's like, nobody else has reached out with that much of a personalized message. He's like, are you working this weekend? I was like, yeah. He came in and he bought a vehicle from me just because of that, right? So if that, like that is, I think the most common thing that salespeople come across is we're crooks, we're out to screw people over, we're shady, we're sleazy, we're liars. And I think anything I've done in sales has always been to break those things. Like I wanted people to leave the dealership with a damn smile on their face because you should be happy buying a car. It should be exciting. Dealerships suck when they make you sit there all frickin' day. Like that sucks ass. There's nothing worse than sitting there waiting for finance with a bunch of other people that are there miserable, that they're spending their Saturday afternoon like eating stale ass popcorn. At least give us something good to eat with, like, I don't know, even hot dogs and like a little broiler would be better than the shit that they got.
Hey, give me a glizzy machine in this bad boy.
Yeah, no shit.
A hot dog at the fucking dealership, dude. That'd be fucking cool.
And don't bring in the mouth breathers that sit there and stare at you in the lobby, like sweeping the floors, like, you know, like let's speed this shit up. There's no reason to do that, right? So, that was my biggest thing, and that's always been my biggest thing is like, how do we blow away our customers with experiences? How do we really truly, like, what does it really mean to under promise and over deliver? And then how do you take that and use that as kind of like your life motto? Like if you see me out in public, like I'm not gonna stick out to you. Like there's nothing really like prominent about me. I'm a pretty low key dude, but like I just kind of live my life that way. Like yeah, it might not seem like much, but like once you get to know me, I have a ton of value to offer because of the things that I cherish and the things I value that are important. And you just bring that to your customers. Add value, massive value, communicate, and it opens up a lot of gates and it breaks a lot of barriers.
Paul, that's one of the things I love about you most, man, because you've always just been a very genuine, very authentic human being. And every interaction I've ever had with you, anything that I've ever seen of you in our communities or just word through the grapevine, right? Because that's how a great community is. People talk. Hey, when people in the community go above and beyond and they do great things, others will talk about it. That's what a great brand is, right? Your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. And I hear nothing but great things about you, Paul, and your, Blue Sky Biz Solutions and what you do to really help people. What's the best way for them to find them, right? A lot of people don't know anything about business credit or how that actually works when they're trying to grow from, sales professional to entrepreneur to true business owner. Where would they find you if they wanted to learn more about that?
Yeah, Facebook's honestly the place that I kind of that's where I spend most of my time. So it's just Paul Childers, my personal profile on Facebook. Otherwise, I've got a whole slew of stuff on blueskybizsolutions.com. You can check me out there, and we can connect from that as well.
I love that, man. And one thing I always like to ask before we get out of here, because, we have folks that are listening to this show that are seasoned veterans in the sales world, and they're the ones that I'm asking to come on and share their crazy stories. And then we've got some newbies that are just getting into the world of sales, that are coming out of that maybe corporate position or having worked under someone's thumb to the point where they're like, man, screw this. I will go do it myself. I know I can do it better. Here's the truth. The grass ain't always greener, but hey, the sky is blue and opportunity is in abundance. So if that's something, that you do, sales is it. This is the game. This is where you get started. This is where you learn to write your own paycheck. So if someone's new in the game, what piece of advice would you give them on how to go out there and be successful in sales?
I think first and foremost, it's be authentic and be yourself. Be honest with people. Don't be unethical. Don't lie to people. And really pursue your passions within sales. I mean, it might not be selling that exact item, but maybe it's just, like for me, it was the process. The entire process of the sale. It doesn't matter what I'm selling. I enjoy the entire sales process. Right? Some people enjoy the relationships, but whatever it is, like grab onto that and let it guide you. And just take the frickin' jump, because you're gonna be doing a lot better than you are now. I can tell you that much. At least you'll be happier.
Well, that's the beautiful thing about sales and success is you get to create your own lifestyle. You get to go out there and do exactly what you want to do, how you want to do, in the way that makes you successful. And success is a perspective, which is why we're here, so that we can share these crazy ass stories, so that we can drop some tactics and some value on those that are trying to continually better themselves. And Paul, you have been an absolutely amazing guest today. I'm so glad that you were able to join us and take some time out of your day to share your crazy ass story. And if you're listening and you enjoyed the episode, make sure you subscribe. I'm always bringing in new guests, new stories. If you have a story to tell, head over to callthedamnleads.com/podcast. Put your information in. Tell me about your story. I'd love to bring you on and bring it to the world, because let's be honest, we hear some of the wildest shit when it comes to sales. And the truth is, all of us love hearing a great story now and then. So that's what this show was created for. And as always, pick up your Call the Damn Leads swag. Subscribe, share it with friends, tag us on social media at Call the Damn Leads. We'll see you guys on the next one.